Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 65. Thank you for joining us for Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and today I am so humbly honored to have with us Leonard Young. He is the founder of NBG Network. His organization creates events and networking opportunities to promote businesses and organizations. Welcome, Leonard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know what? I've given our audience such a brief bio, and you have such an extensive background. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you'd like us to know about yourself and your business?
First, thank you for having me. I am a Delaware native, so I grew up in Delaware. I went to college at Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida, and actually I majored in mechanical engineering. And then from Florida, I moved back home because I didn't have a job after college, lived in Philly, Texas, and then back to Delaware. And, one of the things I noticed when I came back to Delaware is all those places had some form of Black media, whether it was TV, radio, newspaper, magazine. And Delaware really didn't have anything. And that's really how I started my first phase of the business, which was a website called DelawareBlack.com. And at that point, the website focused on promoting Black businesses, local events in the community, and also kind of like promoting positive news regarding African Americans in Delaware. So that's pretty much how we got started. Once we had that model, it caught a lot of interest. We had a lot of support. And then we took that same model to some other cities. So from DelawareBlack.com, then we did a website in Philly called AfroPhilly.com. Then we did DCBlack.com, BaltimoreBlack.com. So, that kind of leads us where we are today with the NBG Network, which is kind of like our umbrella organization, where under that umbrella, we have 14 different city websites. And then we also have we have a couple other websites that specialize in, we have a website where we do marketing, media services. We have a website that specializes in Blacks or African Americans in the use of technology and the internet. And we also have a website that specializes in African Americans in the entertainment movie industry as well. So that's pretty much everything under NBG Network.
Tell us, when did you start and how large is your staff?
Gotcha. Okay. So the staff is actually pretty small. But so DelawareBlack.com was started in 2006. The beginnings of the NBG Network was started in 2008. There's been a lot of times we've done a lot of rebranding. So for most of the websites, they have probably been around about a good 2 or 3 years. As far as our staff is extremely small. Sometimes it feels like a person of one. We have a publicist. And then we also have a staff member who kind of works the Atlanta region and some of our southern websites. Other than that, everything else we have is really people who contribute or, volunteer or intern.
Leonard, thanks for sharing that information. And I'm seeing you've been on this for a minute, so than a lot of other curators. I'm seeing a real strong movement towards Buy Black, supporting Black entrepreneurs, which is definitely, dancing to my beat also, because I think that it's enough ground for a lot of us, and it needs to be more Black entrepreneurs. So from your expertise, tell us about this movement and what you see the future, and how can we connect the dots to be even more powerful and more empowering?
I think one of the biggest things, and, I always think about my grandparents who kind of, lived through the Depression and segregation. And one of the things that they used to always mention, and I'm sure where my grandfather lived in Wilmington was probably similar to a lot of areas, but before segregation that they all talked about, all of the Black entrepreneurs lived in the same neighborhood that everyone else lived in. So, kids growing up, they saw that Black doctor, they saw the Black contractor, they saw the Black retailer, they saw the Black, whoever it was. So, everybody was in the same area. So, I think everybody supported each other. And, I think from what they say after segregation, as African Americans, we started becoming kind of separated. So, I think, even bringing it to us where we are now, I think we have a lot of the same issues that we had probably 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. We just have different people involved in those issues. So, I think the Buy Black movement, the Black experience movement is very important right now because I think one of the things we're realizing is you can't make a career in corporate America, like you could in the past. I think the dissatisfaction with corporate America does spur a lot of people to start their own businesses. I know when I started DelawareBlack.com, the main reason I started personally was because there was a lot of positive things happening in the community. There were a lot of businesses that weren't getting the exposure. And I really wanted them to kind of get that attention, to get that exposure. I think plus living in the community anyway, and probably Delaware is like a lot of other areas, that a lot of the businesses that are really deep in our community aren't owned by us. We're spending, like, even if you think about the hair care and, some of those other industries, we're spending a lot of money to people who are not pouring back into our neighborhoods. So, that's one of the biggest things I think about the Buy Black movement is that if we're supporting African American entrepreneurs and businesses, those are the people more likely to reinvest back into the community. And then it kind of turns into like a cycle where when we are supporting people who are not in or of the community, that money never comes back to us. That's one of the biggest things with the Buy Black movement. It just, it's one of the things where if we don't support ourselves, we are our number one supporter. So we don't support ourselves. A lot of times we can't make it. Real quick, there was a quote I saw today that I really liked. I posted it on one of our Instagram accounts, but basically what it said was Black businesses don't need funding. They just need us to support them. If we supported Black businesses like we had the potential to do, there'd be so many more Black businesses that would in turn, reinvest back into the community, our people, our kids, jobs, all that.
Leonard, when you say, I love that quote, we don't need funding, we just need to support each other. What can we do to support each other? And more importantly, talk about the role that your business is playing in BG Network in reference to that exposure and promoting more Black businesses and getting the word out about Black entrepreneurs.
The role that we play, I feel like we kind of play twofold. Anybody who visits any one of our websites, so we have 14 different city websites, throughout the United States. And there are a couple of key features that all of them have. So, one of the things I noticed early on is that the media loves to cover the negative. So usually when they're talking about the African American community, they're talking about the drugs, killings, shootings, house fires, that stuff. What I noticed when I started my website is, there's a lot of positivity going on there as well. So one of the things we do through the website is we have a free press release policy. So if there's a person who sends us a press release, whether it's about their event, something happening in the community, whether it's something about them personally, we post press releases for free on our website. They can email to us. We'll post it as long as it's appropriate and of a positive or informative nature. All of our websites also have an event calendar where people can submit their events. That is also a free service. And then all of our websites also have a Black business directory. So not only can people go look at the directory and possibly see what businesses are in their area, those business owners can also list their business as well. And those are some free services on our site. Now, of course, we do have paid options where, since we are a business, we can do extra promotion based on email advertising, social media advertising, or advertising on the website. But, I think at the bare minimum, we have a lot of good reasons that people would utilize our free services as well.
Leonard, tell us about success. How do you personally define success?
That really is very difficult because, I think most entrepreneurs, it's kind of like once you reach a certain level, there's always something else. So I think my first level of success was really just getting the website up how we wanted to get it up and just being proud of it. I think just starting that was success. After that, success felt like when we were able to put up 3 additional websites, when we first put up the Philly, Baltimore, and DC. After that, success was getting, writers, people who'd actually write articles for the website that were, relevant to the local community. Now, what success looks like to me and, our team members is really being a national brand. So, right now we're in 14 cities. We would love to be in, 30 or 50 cities that are, had a decent population of African Americans. So, our goal right now, where I think our next step would be that where we had a national brand, we could attract national sponsors, NBG network in our individual 14 to, let's say, 50 city sites were like a household brand.
NBG network, does that stand for anything, or what is the significance, and how did you name your business?
NBG network actually stands for National Black Guide. When we first made our first expansion after DelawareBlack.com, and I did forget to mention, so I'm glad you brought that up, but we had the Philly site, we had the DC site, we had the Baltimore site, and then we had a national site, which is called National Black Guide. So that site is still there. Of course, that site has more of a national focus. It's not city specific. So when we were thinking about the umbrella organization, we definitely considered all the websites a network of websites. And that's kind of how the MBG network came in, because we've been in a lot of different circles where sometimes you don't always want to say black because, you may be trying to get certain money or certain attention. And, some people who maybe can't relate just can't relate.
Based on your definition of success, tell us, Leonard, when did that manifest in your life and how long did that take?
To feel like I was successful.
According to Leonard's definition.
So to be honest, I'll probably feel I'm successful when I have a whole team of people and, I can afford to take vacations and not, have my laptop tied to me. In a certain way, I do feel successful, but I'm not to where I want to be. But, I think the biggest thing of just being successful as an entrepreneur is just knowing that I'm able to pay my bills every month. I'm still here. Been here, 10 years doing the business. So, definitely when I hit the 10-year mark, I definitely did feel a little bit of self-accomplishment just because I know, in those 10 years, I've seen a lot of businesses come and go. I think hitting that 10-year mark did, kind of give me some stability, even though I'm not to where I want to be.
Leonard, talk to the person in the audience. And one of the things you talked about, that quote about you don't need funding, we just need to support each other. That's huge. Everyone want to know about finance. Show me the money. How did you finance your business? You've been at it 10 years.
My business has always been self-financed. So I've never got a business loan. I might have borrowed money here and there where times got tough, but so I think the good thing about my business is potentially, my business has a low overhead. So, when our first web designer put up the website, of course, I paid for that out of pocket. And once I had him make a couple changes to the website and I started getting the bills that he was sending me, I was like, you know what? I think I need to start learning how to manage my own website. I kind of self-taught, learned web design. And actually, I learned it well enough in 2 years. I was able to redo the whole website myself, a whole new website. I've been fortunate, and it really depends on what type of business you're in. But, because most of my stuff is from internet based, all I need is a laptop. I need a laptop, internet access. My overhead is lower than someone who may have like a retail store and has to buy products. But, me personally, funding is actually something I've kind of tried to stay away from. I know probably next year we may be entertaining some investors. I can definitely see how funding is needed for some businesses. I know next year we'll be looking probably for some funding to, take it to the next level for what we do as well.
What's one valuable lesson, Leonard, you wish you knew prior to starting your business?
I think one of the biggest things I have learned, and this is something I still struggle with, and it's kind of like an everyday struggle, but you can't do it all by yourself. I mean, I'll even say the first 5 years, I was pretty much doing everything myself. I was doing the sales, I was doing the website, I was doing the marketing. And, you talk about feeling like you're burned out or burning out. I will say the last 2 years, I've really tried to delegate more. And I really tried, to be honest, just, like teamwork, partnerships. Lately we've done a lot of partnerships where, we can both meet the same goal, but, I don't have to do 100% of the work. Or, even with talking about looking for writers and interns, writers can supply great content that I don't have to go searching for. We have a couple interns working with us now that can do some of the computer stuff, so I don't have to do that all the time. So if I could go back to the beginning, I probably would have looked to form a team immediately. And that's probably the biggest thing. Probably would have saved me a lot of man hours.
Leonard, how do you do that? How do you vet individuals, whether you're talking about interns? And take us on that journey about your staff and you finding these individuals. Are they all paid? Are they volunteers? That's what we need, is to find out, how do we vet those individuals?
Right. So, it's funny you say it, because at the very beginning, I was trying to find those perfect people, people who did stuff just like I did it. And of course, I didn't find those because I'm the only person who does it like I do it. But, what I had to learn over time is that if somebody has that drive, then I'll give them a chance. And once I give them the chance, then it's on me to really develop those skills that I want to see in them. That was probably one of the biggest things that, I had to learn in that term. As far as the people we have now, so we don't have any people paid on a straight salary. We do have some contractors. So, and, the reason why that is because I'll go through phases where sometimes I don't need a lot of people. And then, you'll go through the busy time. So for instance, November was very busy. So in the month of November, I had to ask people for help, or, people who may only do a couple hours a week, I had to ask them to do more hours a week. Or people who are writing articles, I probably had to give them the feedback, is that, okay, this is what we can do. And, even with that, I think training your staff the way that you want them to do things is very important too, because since we have 14 different websites, I almost think about like McDonald's, how they talk about, they had a process and how they do things. Recently, that's what I've tried to set up too, where the same stuff you're going to do on DelawareBlack.com is going to be the same process for DCBlack.com and the same process for MetroAtlantaBlack.com. So, that's kind of really how I've been going. As I said, so we don't have any full-time paid people. We have 2 or 3 people who are on a contract basis. We have 1 person who is on a commission basis. The writers we have for our website, they're really just contributors, so they're not paid, even though we try to compensate them in other ways. So, we may provide free advertising on the website, or, other benefits as they come down to us. So because I guess we do a certain level of media, there'll be times when we'll get free tickets to events or, media passes. We definitely, pass those out as well.
How do you keep your happiness through this journey, Leonard?
Probably my biggest thing, well, one will probably be my 2 kids. I have a son who's 7 and a daughter who's 9, and they are full of energy. They're actually in the next room now, so I told them make sure they stay quiet. The relationships I have, like the friendships I have. I think the other thing, and this is probably for most entrepreneurs, hopefully, but, hopefully you love what you do. So, some of my happiness comes through the business. So, like when I'm able to fulfill a service and somebody's very satisfied and raving about the business, that makes me feel good. Or when I'm able to do a story on somebody and they get let's say I do an article or a interview of somebody, and then they get a lot of attention and that helps their business or helps their community. Those are some of the things that make me feel good as well. Other than that, outside of the business, I like to probably do everything everyone else likes to do, go to the movies. I like to stay physically active, like to travel. Those are some things that I look forward to as well that kind of, keep me in a happy spot.
Drop a value bomb to our audience, Leonard, from your expertise. What is something that they don't know that they should know that's going to take them to another level in their business based on what you are doing currently in your business?
What we do as far as a website and articles, and this is something that I usually tell everybody. Of course, for our websites, content is king. So people are coming to our website to see what's on there, to read articles. So we are always looking for content for our website. And I would assume that a lot of other websites are the same way. Now, when you go to the major ones, like let's say the Huffington Post, USA Today, it may be hard to get stuff on their website. But I will say probably definitely, maybe African American media, African American websites. I would probably almost guarantee if you had a press release for your business or your event and you submitted it to your local African American media and maybe even just local mainstream media, I think there's a very good chance they would pick it up. So when people send us press releases, it's very rare that we won't put it on the website. So and putting on the website, that right there is free press. Like you never know who may see it.
I'm going to jump back a question. You had mentioned you have 2 children. Leonard, how do you balance family life, business life with everything you're doing? How do you do that?
It can become very difficult. So, I think the biggest thing is just time management. So normally, and my kids don't live with me, but I see them just about every day. So they usually get dropped off to my house in the morning, and I'll take them to the bus stop. I know that's a 7 to 7:30 time frame. And then probably 3 to 4 days a week, I'm picking them up at school, like after school program. And then they each have activities. So my daughter does dance and tumbling. My son does karate, and he was doing soccer before it got cold. For the most part, I know my core work hours are going to be from about 8 to 4:30. That makes it a little bit easier. Of course, you probably know with the business, you're almost always on call. And, what I learned about my business is for me to miss a phone call, that could potentially be me missing an advertisement. What I learned is a lot of times if you call people back, and this is something I'm working on too, but calling them back an hour or a day or a week later, they probably took their money somewhere else. It's almost like somebody coming to somebody's store and this store doesn't open till 10 o'clock, but the store next door opens at 8 o'clock. So more than likely, they're going to go in the next store and get what they need to get. Even when I have my kids with me, like they go to a lot of events with me. They go to a lot of meetings with me. They go to a lot of workshops with me. And, hopefully that's something that they'll value in the future. Right now they always say they're bored and they're ready to go home. But I think it's just, the nature of the beast where right now we do all these extra hours and hoping that, let's say 2 or 3 years from now, that we'll have the extra freedom to really spend that extra time with our family and our children.
Leonard, what is a daily or weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
I think one of the things is, and I actually had to look at it. So for the Delaware site, we do a weekly email. And for the weekly email, we usually have people who advertise it's like a weekly email blast where people advertise in it. And I kid you not, in the past 10, and it usually goes out on a Tuesday or Wednesday. In the past 10 years, I probably only missed maybe about 3 weeks, not sending that email out. And even when I went in my constant contact to take a look at it, that kind of verified the same thing. So we've done that pretty consistently the last 10 years. And I probably missed less than 5, weekly email blasts, not sending them out for whatever reason.
What's a technology tool or a technology platform that's a must-have for you in managing your business day to day?
Funny you say, so this is actually one of my own platforms. We have our own social media management software, and it's called MBG Social. And this for us specifically is a must-have. So we manage probably about different social media accounts. So, you can definitely see how that can get a little busy and time consuming. And, nobody really wants to be on social media all day. So, this platform allows us to post automatically to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And because it allows us to post automatically, we can repeat our content. So this helps me a lot because, we do a lot of promoting. So let's say I'm promoting an event that's like a month away. I can set it up on this platform to repeat every 4 days. It just automatically gets posted. And, that saves me from having to go in and post it or remember if it was posted or not. So that's probably the biggest thing that helps our business out, because we do a lot of repetitive content through social media.
So is that app available just for your platform, or is that app available for other businesses to use that app?
That's actually available to everybody. It's called NBG Social. So that's still the National Black Guide acronym. The website is just nbgsocial.com. So people can go there. There are different pricing plans for what people are looking for. The lowest one starts at like less than $20, which is still pretty effective. And I think that would handle what most people are looking for as well.
Did you design that app, or did you have a team that designed the app?
This one is computer, or you can use it from a like a cell phone, but it's probably easier to use it from a computer. But this was a kind of like a white label service where we're able to, or it's probably more like a franchise. So we bought the rights, and then we were able to brand it as our own.
That's pretty neat. Leonard, what is working well for you now with your business?
One of the things that works best right now, and of course I wish I knew a year or 2 years ago, there was actually a guy, one of our contributors from New York, who writes on the website, and he was talking about how the Huffington Post, how writers contribute to the Huffington Post. And prior to that, what would happen when we had writers, they would send me their articles, and I would go ahead and upload them to the website. So of course, all that's time consuming. And then if a writer had to make a change or something was spelled wrong, they would send me an email, and I had to go back in and, make the change. And one of the guys was telling me, he's like, well, the Huffington Post, the writers, the contributors are able to upload their own content, and of course they can go back and make their own changes. And I was like, you know what? I need to do that with my website. So, I was literally probably spending 5 to 10 hours a week uploading other authors' articles to the website. So, once he told me that, I set it up where now anyone who's a contributor to our website, writing articles or doing interviews, they can upload their own content to the website. Now, granted, I do go along and kind of check the content to make sure the structure and if I see any obvious grammar or spelling, but that right there probably saved a massive time. When people have to make changes, go in and update their own change, I don't have to do anything.
Brilliant. Leonard, who are your top 2 influencers, and what lessons did they teach you?
Right. So, I think one of the people, and, I think she's just a role model, would be Kathy Hughes of Radio One. I just love her story of how she got started, and, even when she first got the radio station, how she put in the long hours, and she talked about the family struggle. Anyone being an entrepreneur and in a relationship, definitely some struggle with that. But, even just how, and kind of like I was saying before, our goal is to have one of our network websites in every major city. That's kind of what Radio One did. They started out in a local market, and then, city by city. And, now Radio One is probably, it may be the biggest African-American media as far as reach and how many people they reach daily. So, that's one person. Another person who I've always liked is Les Brown. I really like him because I read one of his books, which is called Live Your Dreams. Just the stories that he had in there was something I could relate to. Maybe not, his definitely growing up, but, as far as his business struggles once he became a young adult. I actually had the opportunity to meet him and have lunch with him one time, which was a great experience. He's definitely as dynamic and as funny as you see on the videos and in the book.
How did that opportunity come about?
Yeah, so actually here in Delaware, there was a girl named Kishma George, and she brought Les Brown he was like the keynote speaker at one of her events. She had like an empowerment expo. And he came the night before, and I guess she had already set it up where she would invite a small amount of people to have dinner with Les Brown. And luckily, I was fortunate to be one of those people.
Nice. That was nice. That was a good event. And especially since that's one of your top influencers. That's pretty amazing. We're going to shift gears here, Leonard. What is the worst moment in business and what was your takeaway?
One of the worst moments came pretty early on, so maybe 2 or 3 years after we started the website. I had wanted to redo the website again. And this time, the way I wanted to do it, I was not skilled enough to do it myself. So, of course, at the time, everybody was talking about freelancers, and they specifically were talking about freelancers from other countries. So I went on to one of the freelancing websites and I found somebody who I was interested in redoing a website for me. And this person, of course, when you do the freelancing, you have the option to pay by the hour or you can pay like a flat rate. I should have paid flat rate, but I paid by the hour. And, even though you can pay by the hour, they had a system where when that contractor logged in, it took like a screenshot every 5 minutes. So you could kind of see if they were really working or really not working. So I would look at the screenshots, but with web design and when you're looking at a lot of code, you can't tell if stuff was done or not done because, I didn't understand it like that. Long story short, and this is a lesson inside a lesson, when they were doing the website, I should have had them building it on my server, but they were building it on their server. I didn't even think about that. $6,000 to $7,000 later, they disappeared. I didn't have any website because it wasn't on my server. I couldn't get in contact with them, and I didn't get my money back.
Leonard, I feel that story. Thank you for sharing it. Prior to meeting my web designer now, I've had some horror stories from web designers. So I definitely feel you. I didn't go that high, but I tell you, and I think that what has happened and what has transitioned in the last couple of years in terms of do-it-yourself websites, which can even be, traumatic for someone starting out, that things have really changed and evolved. But one of the things that I want to leave with our audience is that, Leonard, you didn't give up and you didn't quit. You had a vision, you had a dream, and you continued to forge ahead despite early on, because that $6,000 to $7,000, and this is what I like to say, that was a $6,000 to $7,000 investment in learning what not to do. So that's awesome. Thanks for taking us back to that journey. So talk to the person in our audience, Leonard. They're fearful. They want to start a business. They're currently doing a 9-to-5. What advice would you give them?
I actually started my business while I was doing 9-to-5. But, I think the biggest thing is there has to be a passion there. So a lot of times people who want to start a business, they're already kind of doing whatever it is that business would be. So, for me, I was dabbling a little bit in websites. I like to be involved in the community. So, that's one of the things that kind of helped me out. But for the person who's dabbling right now, I would definitely say if you know what you want to do, then, it doesn't have to be a business right now, but start doing it, so like if you like doing, if you like baking, you can still bake stuff now and, you can bake stuff and sell it without having to be, quote unquote in business, or for some of the things that may not be as, let's say, easy to do as, or needing like less equipment, but find somebody who is doing what you want to do and go volunteer with them, or go work with them or go talk to them. I know yesterday I was speaking to some students, and one of the things that I wish, and this was even early on in my business, is that I could have talked to somebody about what I'm doing, or I could have had a mentor, or, somebody could have given me advice. But, I definitely say just because you have a 9-to-5 does not mean that you cannot still have a successful business on the side, no matter how small you start.
I love that advice. And it takes me back down to memory lane. A gentleman, I want to say it was like 26 years ago, he told me, he said, he gave me a new slogan. It was like, do be. And a lot of times we say, I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be something. And he said to me, what do you want to do when you grow up? right? And I was grown 26 years ago. And I said to him, I said, you know what? I want to be a renowned author. And he said, well, do it. He said, do be. So when you do a thing, you will become it. You have to take action. And so today I have authored some books. Am I renowned? No, that shall come. But I have authored a book, and it takes that exactly what you said. It's about the doing, and you will ultimately be it. So that was some really good information. Leonard, what book would you recommend to our audience and why?
I would definitely recommend the Les Brown book. One of the reasons why is because, and I won't give any of the book away, but just talk about somebody who was counted down, counted out, nothing, or at least according to the book, that some of his biggest accomplishments were never made easy for him, and he didn't give up. He kept on. It's almost like when someone keeps telling you, no, you can't do it, but inside your head, you're saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And, that was the attitude he has, and stories throughout the book really, back up that attitude. And after I read it, I was inspired. That's definitely one of my favorite books of all time.
Leonard, what have you not done in life that you dream about often?
I'm not sure, to be honest, and not to say I haven't done it, but just traveling. I can definitely say I do not get to travel like I want to. Granted, in this mid-Atlantic area, I'll drive from New York to DC, but I would love to go to Europe, and I've never really been to Europe. I would love to just visit Spain and Italy and France and, see some of those sites. I'd love to go to Africa. I was just looking at some stuff last week. So, those are two things I would like to do. And I always think of, okay, so I can do all my work from a laptop. So there's nothing really holding me here, but that's something that I would love to do.
If you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked you? And I want you to answer that question.
Okay. There's a trick question, huh? I would probably ask me, why do I do what I do? And, one of the things I always think about is like, I definitely have a lot of respect for my grandparents. They were always active in the community. They were always interested in education. They were always about supporting Black businesses. And, I just feel like they were a great role model to me. So like one of the things I always think about with what I do now is I want to try to leave a legacy. So I want to make it so that whenever I'm not here anymore on this earth, not only the people who knew me, like my family, friends, but, maybe people who have never come in contact with me can just recognize at least what I was trying to do. Hopefully, after I'm gone, these websites will be around. MBG Network will still be around. So, my goal is really to leave something that's long lasting, that can last longer than I may.
Share with our audience a parting piece of advice that you want to offer.
A lot of times before you start your business, everybody's in your corner, no matter what it is. And then there becomes to be a shift. When you actually start your business, you always think that the people closest to you are going to be your biggest supporters. And, that's not always the case. So, granted, I understand my friends and my family and people I have relationships with. And, I think that they like what I do and they're in support. But some of my biggest support comes from people who I've never met, I've never talked to, but people who either love the website, so they do this, that, and that, or they love what we do and they do that, that, and that. So, in a way that's always surprising, because you would always think, okay, the people closest to me would help me the most, and actually sometimes the people closest to you are your worst enemies with the business. So that's something that, I think anyone starting a business, yes, you are definitely going to have those people close to you who are on your side, but you're also going to have those people close to you who are jealous of what you do, or they are fearful for what may happen if it doesn't work out on your behalf prematurely. Well, what if you fail? Well, don't tell me that when I'm trying to make it. So, that's why one thing I would just say is you do have to have thick skin. You do have to know that your support may not come from where you expect it to come from.
And that is really some valuable advice. And it's almost like saying, what if I make it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
You know, let's look at the glass half full versus half empty. And I love what you said about those that are closest to you. I just had that conversation with a young lady yesterday about her vision and her dreams and her goals and objectives, and how I was saying to her a lot of times, and I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of times, and she was talking about how her husband, he was not really supportive. But she had also mentioned that she had this opportunity and she was very fearful. And I said, a lot of times we want to pull people on our side because we don't really have the confidence, and we're trying to get someone to buy into what we're doing. And I had to say to her, you're more than enough by yourself. You know what I mean? It's your vision. It's your goal. And just like you said, there are people that's going to come alongside of you. You know, the right people will show up and help you out. And I know my husband always says to me, he go, I don't even know what you're doing in there, why you're spending so much time. Who are you talking to? I don't even know what you're doing. He doesn't even understand. And that's okay. But I know in his way, he supports me and I accept that. But early on, when I started this entrepreneurial journey, I felt that same way. And I wanted everyone to rally around me and to be totally supportive. But I realized that that's not their lane, and that's not the position that they need to hold.
Right. And you know, just to piggyback that, I've been in relationships like that too, where I wanted them, because I love the business so much, I wanted them to love the business like I loved it. And, you know, a lot of times I thought that would bring us closer. But because they didn't have that passion that I had, it actually made it harder. So, you know, now it's one of the things where, you know, I know everyone has their passion, and, you know, you just kind of have to, kind of like they say, you have to meet people where they're at. So, okay, I love the business. I'm going to do this. You love that. You do that. And then we come together and maybe we don't even talk about the other stuff. So that was a hard lesson that I had to learn too, because, you know, you want people to love what you love. And when they don't, you know, sometimes you feel a certain way about it.
Absolutely. And when you can accept the fact that they have a lane and they have an assignment, and you have a lane and you have an assignment, and maybe you guys intersect at some point and maybe you don't. Maybe you just veer off and continue on your journey. But at that point that you met, like you said, deal with them at that level where they're at and just accept it. And I think we as entrepreneurs, we just have to accept that. And once we get that lesson, it's huge, because it took a lot for me to say, you know, I wanted my husband to be the biggest cheerleader. And sometimes, like you said, those are closest to you could be your biggest critics. But they're cheering on the side, but they are also saying, I don't even understand what you're doing. Leonard, we come to the part of our podcast. It's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. I will ask you a series of questions, and I want you to give very quick answers. If it's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I'm ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round.
Thank you. All right, Leonard, the last movie you saw?
The last movie I saw was a movie just on TV. I don't know the name of it. Jesus.
That's okay. You relax doing what?
Sleeping, resting.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
I like Jay-Z.
Your favorite dance song?
Dance song, I like Flashing Lights, Kanye West.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Cereal and sandwiches, separately, of course.
Your favorite month?
My favorite month, probably my birthday month, October.
Leonard, thank you so much for spending time with us and just dropping some massive value bombs to our audience. And why don't you share, before we conclude, the best way for our audience to connect with you and to support your business? And then why don't you also tell us what cities you're in again, so those that are in those cities, they can reach out to you and support your business?
Got you. So the best way to connect with us is either through email or telephone. So best email address is info at nationalblackguide.com. Or you can call us, and that telephone number is 888-854-5525. So that phone is voicemail, so nobody will probably ever answer the phone, but we do get the messages. And then as far as our website, so we have about 14 to 16 different websites. Everything is under the National Black Guide Network, NBG Network. So we have a site in New York, which is nycityblack.com. We have a site in Newark, New Jersey, which is newarkblack.com. We have a site in Philadelphia, which is afrophilly.com. Then we have delawareblack.com. We have baltimoreblack.com. We have dcblack.com. We have jacksonvilleblack.com. We have Miami FL, so Florida shortened, miamiflblack.com. We have metroatlantablack.com. We have birminghamblack.com. We have Houston TX, so just the state initials, HoustonTXBlack.com. We have ChiTownBlack.com, which is Chicago, and Chi is CHI. And then we have LA Black Post, which is our Los Angeles site. And then our national site is called National Black Guide. And then I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss any sites. Okay. And then we have our site for dealing with African Americans and use of technology. That site is called blackwebpro.com. And then we have our site that deals with African Americans in the movie and entertainment industry, and that site is blackcinema.net. And then we have our company website, which is nbgnetwork.com. And then our social media site is nbgsocial.com. And our last site is our media and marketing site, where we do websites, graphics, marketing services, social media management. And that site is nbgmedia.com. So those are all our websites. I think I got them all.
Thank you, Leonard. We appreciate you spending time with us on Black Entrepreneur Experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the offer.
That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.